always a light. When we are ready to see it, there is always a light. When we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will.
There is always a
light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to see it, there is always a light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will.
There is always light.
There is always a light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to see it, there is always a light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There is always a light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to see it, there is always a light.
There is always light.
When we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will be the light.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Danbury. We're so grateful to have you here this morning. My name is Annie Chenal, and I've been a member here for about 5 years. I'm on several committees. My favorite is doing spirit play with our preschoolers through first graders. As we gather today, if you have not done so already, please silence your phones. I am so glad that you were able to join us this morning because you're an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or 1,000th Sunday in our midst, in person or online, we are stronger because you were with us. As we gather this morning, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building is on the traditional land of the Paugussett people. Before we get started this morning, I invite you to greet your neighbors either here next to you or joining us online and say hello, introduce yourself to someone you haven't met yet, or wave across the room to old friends. Thank you, Zilla. We have a few announcements. Our Passover Seder will be held this Friday from 6 to 9, and we will tell the Passover story with words and music and enjoy a shared potluck. You can RSVP using the email invitation that you received. And then on Saturday, we have a special concert from the Yeager family and the Recorder Society of Connecticut for a concert honoring Elise Yeager right here in our fellowship hall at 2 o'clock on Saturday. And you can RSVP. The information is in your order of service. So we would like to light the chalice. We make this time and this place holy simply by being together with each other. And we begin by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Please join me in reciting the words. is the spirit of its foundation, and thus is its concern to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. Our, the
Hi.
board, yeah.
I'm Margaret Henderson. I just have an extra announcement. As you know, I hope you know, our nominating committee has been looking really hard for people to join the board. We still have 2 openings, co-president and, okay, sorry, 1 opening. I've been president for 3 years, and I have said that it's time for me to step down. I don't mind helping. I'm still happy to be on the board, but I need to not be the sole leader. I would be happy to have a co-president, somebody to share that position with me, train you, help you, whatever. But what I wanted to throw out today is the possibility that maybe there's somebody out there who's thinking, I could do it except for whatever. And maybe we have resources among our congregation that could assist with the whatever. I'm not talking to the people who know that they can't and would hate doing it. That's not the point, to force anybody. But the point is just maybe to put your heads together and maybe talk with some other people and see if we can collaboratively come up with something that would work. Thank you.
All right, please rise and body your spirit and join us in singing our hymn of welcome, number 21 in the gray hymnal, For the Beauty of the Earth.
It is so good to be together. Let's say our children's affirmation. The words are on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. And I'm going to invite our service leader, Mary Ann, up for this morning's story, which she has chosen for us.
Good morning. This story was one of my children's favorites, and it's Miss Rumphius by Barbara Cooney. The flower lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between, the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. She is little and old, but she was not always that way. I know. She is my great-aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Alice's grandfather was an artist, and he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house. He carved wood for the prows of ships, and he painted pictures. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places. And when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon she was grown up. Then my great Alice set out to do the three things that she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, keeping books and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the smell of sweet jasmine filled her nose. She closed her eyes. "This is almost like a tropical island," she said, "but not quite." So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island, and then she climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. Over the years, she traveled to jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping. And everywhere she went, she made friends she would never forget. Finally, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "Well, it is unfortunate, but I've certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in the glory of the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there's still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what?" "The world is already pretty nice," she thought, looking out at the ocean. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so I could still have more flowers next year. But she was not able to do it. After a hard winter, Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she cried when she got to the top of the hill. For there on the other side of the house was a large patch of flowers, blue and purple and rose-colored. "It was the wind," she said as she knelt in delight. "The wind brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped too." Then Miss Rumphius had an idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over the fields and headlands, sowing flowers. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and the back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her anymore. The next spring there were flowers everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered blue and purple and rose-colored blooms. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Big patches lay along the schoolhouse and in the back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third thing, the most difficult thing of all. My great Aunt Alice, Miss Rumphius, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more flowers. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old woman who planted the fields of flowers. When she invites us in, she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to a faraway place and come home to live by the sea. "Oh, that is all very well, little Alice," says my aunt, "but there's a third thing you must do." "What is that?" I ask. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," she says. "All right," I say, but I do not yet know what that can be. The end.
Okay, I want to invite Lana forward to light our lantern, to bring down our chalice light, and we will sing together "This Little Light of Mine." And once the lantern is filled, any kids who want to come downstairs for this morning's programs can follow us.
now it's time to share milestones. And we'll do silent milestones first. These are things that have deep meaning and concern in our hearts, not political issues. So if you have silent milestones, please, let's start with that. We'll carry these things in our heart.
Sing together the hymn of reflection, Spirit of Life.
This is the time in our service where we show each other our generosity. The money that we donate here comes back to us in 1,000 ways, supporting this congregation and all the work that we do outside these walls. If this is your first time here, please feel free to pass the plate. Your gift to us is your presence here. Joe Gelati will come up here to give us our poetry reading. There are a few questions by Mary Oliver.
Good morning. There are a few questions by Mary Oliver. Is the soul solid, like iron, or is it tender and brittle, like the wings of a moth and the beak of an owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape like an iceberg? Like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung, like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it, and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have it, and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about the roses and lemons and their shiny leaves? What about the grass? And I have a footnote here. Mary Oliver was born on September 10, 1935 in Maple Heights, Ohio. She died in 2019. So it leaves open the subject of the grass at the end. I like to think that she was talking about the grass in her front yard and her backyard, but that's up to the reader to decide. Thank you.
Gary's going to read the next poem, which is also by Mary Oliver, and it's titled The Truro Bear. And she lived on the Cape a good part of her life. So the Truro she mentions actually exists in, as a town.
Before getting this assignment, I was ignorant. I didn't know where Truro was, so I had to look it up, and it's meaningful in this context. The Truro Bear by Mary Oliver. There's a bear in the Truro woods. People have seen it. 3 or 4, 2 or 1, I think. I think of the thickness of the Sirius woods around the dark bowls of the Truro ponds. I think of the blueberry fields, the blackberry tangles, the cranberry bogs, and the sky with its new moon, its familiar star trails, burns down like a new heaven. While everywhere I look on the scratchy hills, shadows seem to grow shoulders. Surely a beast must be clever, be lucky, move quietly through the woods for years, learning to stay away from roads and houses. Common sense mutters, It can't be true. It must be somebody's runaway dog. But the seed has been planted. And when has happiness ever required much evidence to begin its leaf green breathing?
Thank you both. Um, I guess I'm doing the message. Yes, I am. Next. Can't hear. Okay, thank you. I want to talk about this book, Nature's Best Hope, and my real life results and thoughts. First off, this is a lovely book if you want to give a gift to someone. It's full of pictures of beautiful caterpillars. And I would not normally be a person who wants to look at caterpillars. So the book came out in 2019. I first heard about it in 2021, and it's been something that's stays with me every day and is really influencing how I look at things. The the thing is, I haven't heard anyone talking about it or seen articles, but it could just be what I've seen lately. But I don't think so. He the writer Talamy has really come up to a new approach to conservation. We living creatures need food, clothing, and shelter, and habitat, and friends if you're human. And what has been going on for many years is that bird populations are dropping and insect pollinator numbers are going down. This may seem like arcane, who cares about it? But 90% of our food crops are pollinated by insects and birds and bees. And if that doesn't happen, it could lead to terrible food shortages and other things, because if there's nothing to hold mosquitoes back, they can make your life a misery. So the Talamy has come up with a good idea, but the problem, like I said, is not insect pollinator numbers going down, and it in his way of looking at what's happening, we've wiped out the habitat for these little critters. And we've done that by paving things, we've done it with chemicals, and we've done it with front yards. Normally, you wouldn't think of beautiful green grassy areas as problematical, but because they prevent other creatures from living, because there's no habitat there's no tall grass, there's no food growing, it's become a major problem, because I don't have the number handy, but wow, the amount of land being converted to grassy areas short grass is it's huge. I couldn't believe it. So the question is what to do. And Ptolemy comes up with this very, very simple idea, which is to have to reestablish native plants. And now the question is, what is a native plant? It's a plant that was here for thousands of years, but more simply, I think of it as plants that were here when the Pilgrims came. So that can be things like oaks, oak trees, most of our trees, shrubs, flowers, grasses. So there's been a push in from land trusts and organizations to get native gardens reestablished. The problem with that there is one other thing. Native plants need native pollinators. And because we've cut down on these things, with our chemicals, with our paving, our roads, the Truro bear brings up the difficulty of animals living in places inhabited by humans. But that's a big animal. The little animals are also having trouble. So this this is a great idea, and what's particularly good about it is it doesn't take interaction with government agencies. It doesn't take a big global plan. It's just everybody who's concerned getting some native plants in, and hopefully over time, there'll be enough, and the pollinators and the bees and the birds will make a resurgence. So it sounds great. It sounds easy. It's not going to get anybody riled up. But I haven't found it to be that simple in my yard. In fact, I've really failed. I did put in seed. I didn't get much to sprout, and I got exactly two skimpy little plants. I got flack from my neighbors because I let my garden get weedy, meaning it got to be about knee high. And a friend made a really impassioned plea to cut it because I had puppies in the house that year. So I agreed to do that, but I did leave a space really about the size of this, you know, I don't know what we call this, but this platform, yes. So I left this platform at this size in running parallel to the edge of the yard. It didn't look too bad. And I found I really liked going out there for breakfast. It's just whatever grass was growing in the yard. And the dogs liked it. The dogs like to, use it for their needs. However, I have been looking as I drive by things, I'm looking at these huge grassy areas where people have wiped out every tree and shrub, native or non-native. And it is kind of discouraging. However, there are also some good reasons to not let your grass grow high. If you have children who are actually going to run and play in the yard, it's a hard decision to make. So at this point, I'm just keeping some back of the house area and letting that grow wild. And mostly I'm getting mugwort and wild roses and things you have to cut down anyway because they're so overwhelming. I don't think that, I think eventually if I keep at it, I'm going to get a pollinator friendly garden. And at least I haven't been using chemicals to keep things down. So that's a question. This is such a good idea, but it's got some issues, So I think that's about all I can tell you, and I would be interested in hearing from you if you've tried planting things. The good thing about having a garden this size is it's a very peaceful place, and I think I'm getting some insect life growing there. I have to keep my lawnmower man from cutting it down. He's been a bit of a hazard too, that he takes a little off this time and a little off here. So thank you for your time, and like I said, it's a very enjoyable book to read, and it's a very hopeful book. Annie?
It's so important to plant native plants. And one of the ways that we can tell that they're native is if they say on the label that they're insect resistant. This means they evolved somewhere else. And so our bugs won't eat them. And it's amazing. I planted an entire yard of insect resistant plants. So everything's non-native. So it's cute because it's hard to find the natives, but if it says it's insect resistant, it's insect resistant. Right now we are going to go back in the program and we're going to listen to the reading video Earthwise by Amanda Gorman.
On Christmas Eve, 1968, astronaut Bill Anders snapped a photo of the Earth as Apollo 8 orbited the moon. Those three guys were surprised to see from their eyes a planet looked like an Earthwise, a blue orb hovering over the moon's gray horizon with deep oceans and silver skies. It was our world's first glance at itself, a first chance to see a shared reality, a declared stance, and a commonality, a glimpse into our planet's mirror. And as threats drew nearer, our own urgency became clearer as we realized that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home. We've known that we're caught in the throes of climactic changes some say will just go away, while some simply pray to survive another day. For it is the obscure, the oppressed, the poor who, when the disaster is declared done, still suffer more than anyone. Climate change is the single greatest challenge of our time. Of this, you're certainly aware. It's saddening, but I cannot spare you from knowing an inconvenient fact, because it's getting the facts straight that gets us to act and not to wait. So I tell you this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to dare you to dream a different reality where, despite disparities, we all care to protect this world, this riddled blue marvel, this little true marvel, to master the verve and the nerve to see how we can serve our planet. You don't need to be a politician to make it your mission to conserve, to protect, to preserve that one and only home that is ours. To use your unique power to give next generations the planet they deserve. We are demonstrating, creating, advocating. We heed this inconvenient truth because we need to be anything but lenient with the future of our youth. And while this is a training in sustaining the future of our planet, there is no rehearsal. The time is now, because the reversal of harm and protection of a future so universal should be anything but controversial. So, Earth, pale blue dots, we will fail you not, just as we chose to go to the moon. We know it's never too soon to choose hope. We choose to do more than cope with climate change. We choose to end it. We refuse to lose. We do this and more, not because it's very easy or nice, but because it is necessary. Because with every dawn, we carry the weight of the fates of this celestial body orbiting a star. And as heavy as that weight sounded, it doesn't hold us down, but it keeps us grounded, steady, ready, because an environmental movement of this size is simply another form of an Earthrise. To see it, close your eyes, visualize that all of us in this room and outside of these walls or in these halls, all of us change makers, or in a spacecraft floating like a silver raft in space, and we see the face of a planet anew. We relish the view, we witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Open your eyes, know the future of this wise planet is right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this earth uprising, all of us bring light to exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an earth more than worth fighting for.
Now, Suzanne Holfritz will read us a poem by Susan Deborah King entitled Night Garden.
Under cover of darkness, under dew-beaded leaves, what protuberances might poke forth? What developments take shape? 2 yellow squash joined at their torsos in delecto tre flagrante, an Armenian cucumber curling into a twisted, hideous smile, mimicking the snakes that slither over it. We may have just checked on these planets at dusk and discovered no such shenanigans afoot. Everything coming along just as it should, but at dawn, find prized incipient sweet pea vines chomped off by voles, the ground breaking out in a new weedy green rash, and last year's radishes and sunflowers volunteering to pop up nowhere they're wanted, helter-skelter, out of plan. The slugs, snails, cutters, and fungus have been at work, graying, belacing, crumpling, and slicing through our leaves. But the poppy, the magnificent maroon oriental we've been nursing, has burst open at last, its center black with promise. The clematis, a jackmoney, has climbed higher on its trellis than ever before, placing its deep purple stars closer to the heavens. all it seems with no other purpose than to undermine any remaining illusion we may have of control, and to underscore that there's always so much going on: mystery, drama, comedy, lyric, horror, of which we have absolutely no clue.
Thank you, Suzanne. That's my garden. They're always taking off. I'm going to read a poem titled The Summer Day. It's by Mary Oliver. And about 12 years ago, when Barbara Fast was our minister, I remember this being read. And it stayed with me at a crucial part of my life. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Join us in our song of celebration, the garden song. The words are in your order of service on the little flyer. Now we're ready to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of unity, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.